Hey, what is up, everybody? How goes it? Good morning, good afternoon, good happy days and Wednesdays. I think, wait, is it Wednesday? All my days, they sort of run together, man. I'm actually in between jobs, man, and it's been a quite exciting time. Yeah, I'm really trying to push my podcast, see if maybe I can make it in this world, and I have a blast doing it. If you guys have not check out my my crowdfunding page, because it is not my crowdfunding, well, my website. And again, I have these technical difficulties where hang on. Well, how's everybody doing while I'm checking this? What's going on? Let's see that. Let's go to this. And let's go to that. It seems to be that when I do this, maybe. Is the darndest thing. Yeah, it really is. So what's up, everybody? How's it going? Lincoln, where you at, man?
Hey, yo, I'm right here, brother. How you doing, man? What's going on? Man, okay, guys, check this out. You guys. So listen, I was in the backyard, and I look over, and I'm like, holy shit. There's Bigfoot. Oh, my God. I was like, Dad, we're dead. Dad. Bigfoot's in the backyard. And then I realized it was just my dad. he was trying to climb the fence. Oh, my God. Bigfoot is just like...
Oh, Lincoln, thank you, man. Yeah. Yeah, I guess he saw when I was trying to go jump the fence, trying to find his ball for him. Thanks, Lincoln. That was, I appreciate it. Hey, thank you. You're so funny, Lincoln. Man, are you? So, what is going on? So today, let's see, what was it? Oh, yeah. So, I got a story from a Mary Ann Besser. This is a pretty good one. You guys might like hearing this one. Maybe. You know, it's a little long. It's not too bad. Here goes it. Oh, boy. It was around Halloween in Western New York. During, I love that. Yeah, it was around Halloween in Western New York during the early 1980s. Of course, a group of my friends and I, who had been together since early grade school, were commenting on how much we missed the thrill of celebrating Halloween each year. One boy in our group, Alex, got his parents' permission to have a costume party and a bonfire at his summer cabin in the woods. I wouldn't have guessed that. In his mom's house, probably. I'm just kidding. The location was near Rock City Park, near the town of Olean. Maybe it was because it was Halloween and the media liked to play up the idea that there had been Bigfoot sightings in the area. But we had been bombarded with the story after story on TV of people claiming to have sighted Bigfoot in the nearby woods. So for a week before the party, several of the male members of the group began telling their stories of the legendary beast killing pets and regular peering into the windows of unsuspecting locals. Man, it's like that story. You guys hear that story? That guy's got that video footage of that Bigfoot peering in the window. Man, that's a pretty crazy story, man. I'll get that for you. I'll do a show on that this week. Anyway, back to this. Although I did not believe in Bigfoot at the time, there was always the thought in the back of your mind of the question, what if? It was within this backdrop that our party began. Having gorged ourselves at the cookout and having danced for several hours, we retreated to the bonfire for the traditional telling of the ghost stories and the roasting of marshmallows. Man, I missed that. We also had to work around a second party going on at the same time. My friend's older sister was hosting a party with her friends at the cabin at the same time, with the two groups alternating, taking turns using the cabin and then moving outside to gather around the fire. How did I wish my friend Jacob had arrived? He had to work late and was only able to attend the events at the bonfire. Now, as my group settled around the fire, Alex began telling an Algonquin legend about the origins of Bigfoot. The Algonquins believed that at the beginning of time, there were creatures called stone giants. They were given many powers, including the ability to make wind, thunder, and even move enormous objects like trees, hills, and mountains. One day, the creator decided to check up on the stone giants. One of them asked the creator to close his eyes, as he had something to show him. When the creator opened his eyes, he saw that the stone giant had moved a mountain slightly closer. The creator told the stone giant to close his eyes. Almost immediately he said, "Open your eyes." The stone giant opened them, turned his head, and smashed his nose on the mountain that was now directly in front of him, a sign of the creator's far greater powers. Well, the creator then told the stone giant that they were being banished from the earth forever for abusing the gifts they had been given. The stone giant pleaded with the creator and promised that if allowed to stay, they would never again abuse their powers and would instead serve as protectors of nature and sacred areas. Many believe the Sasquatch is a stone giant. Just as he had finished the tale, Alex excused himself to get more marshmallows. Suddenly, we heard a scream come from behind the cabin and saw Alex running toward the bonfire, being chased by my friend Jacob, who had dressed up as Bigfoot. Apparently, both boys were in on the prank and had set it up to give us all a good scare. We all got a great laugh out of it until we all of a sudden stopped, became dead silent, and turned our attention to the sound of crackling leaves in the woods. Initially, we saw this huge hairy beast with his back turned to us. But when he turned around, he started walking quite deliberately in our direction. Initially, we thought about running to the cabin, but given the cabin's distance and our close proximity to the fire, we believed that staying put was our safer option. A couple of the wiser members of our group decided to grab any larger sticks readily available in the fire to use as torches to shield us should the need arise. Thinking this was a real deal and not just another prank, we took the only weapons we had and started pelting this beast with marshmallows. With seconds, we all stood there facing this giant hairy creature that had dozens of marshmallows, toasted and raw, sticking to a gooey mess all over its now matted fur. For a brief moment, we locked eyes, and I realized the pelting marshmallows at this hairy fur thing was standing before us wasn't the right thing to do because it angered it. Suddenly, the beast started screaming obscenities to the crowd, and we realized it wasn't Bigfoot at all. It was just a boy from the sister's party who had dressed up as a Chewbacca and decided to take a leak in the woods. Have I ever come across a cryptid while hiking in nature? That depends on your definition of cryptid. Whether you call him Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, or stone giant, I'd have to say, truthfully, no. But I did run across Chewbacca urinating in the woods, and let's say, based on the colorful language coming out of his mouth, he was definitely not happy to be pelted with marshmallows. That's a pretty good one, man, I gotta say. Chewbacca is a pimp. Yeah, yes, he is. Man, he is. Let's see. Where did this other one go? Here's another one. This one from E. Dane. All right. Let's check this out. Have you ever seen Bigfoot? And he says, yes. It was 1986. I was 14 years old, visiting my dad up in Alberta, Canada. Lincoln, you dropped your ball, man. It's thunder. Oh. Let's go there. Lincoln's over there. Lincoln, over there. Lincoln. Damn. Lincoln and his balls. Oh, boy. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's just not funny. You drop your balls, motherfucker. I'll get it.
No cussing. No more cussing, Lincoln. And I tell him all the time, man, because I like to think that, maybe young people are listening to this, and then that cussing is it just sounds very, it's very, immature. It just sounds bad. Anyway. Lincoln, not that I think that you're, but, you gotta cuss.
Fuck you, Dad.
What? Lincoln. Oh, Jesus. Can I get back to the story, please? Thank you. God. Man, Jesus Christ, Lincoln. You always do this when I'm getting all into this, man. All right. It was in 1986. I was 14 years old visiting my dad up in Alberta, Canada. After my parents had separated, my dad decided to live out in a small house in the woods, about a half hour away from the nearest town off the grid. This was his dream, and he allowed me to experience it with him about every other weekend. We would go hiking, hunting, kayaking, bird watching, you name it. We would sometimes camp outside in the woods, and that is where I saw it. It was one of those camping trips I went on with my dad where I had not only saw a Bigfoot, but it was terribly close to me. My dad and I found a spot pretty deep in the brush to set up camp, and then night fell. We decided to sleep in our sleeping bags outside to watch the stars. My dad fell asleep pretty quickly, but it was a bit harder for me. I remember trying extremely hard to fall asleep that night, but to be honest, even though by that time I had been in plenty of camping trips with my dad already, I was still pretty freaked out by the forest at night. This fear kept me awake all through the night. I remember that at a certain point, when I was just starting to finally drift into sleep, I heard something come out of the trees and snapping twigs loudly as it walked on towards us. My dad still was fast asleep, and now I was basically pissing my pants. I thought some strange person was walking on towards our campsite, but as I squinted my eyes open a bit, I could see that only about 10 feet away from me was an enormous, hairy creature that stood and walked on two legs like a human would. Obviously, I wanted to scream out in fear, but I tried my best to pretend I was asleep in hopes that it would just eventually move along. I think the creature, which I now believe to be a Bigfoot, was attracted to the smell of the meat my dad had been cooking before. And strangely, it hadn't really seemed the least bit interested in us. It seemed more interested in just slowly walking around our campsite, presumably looking for some food that it must have thought we had. But, if we were cooking it and it smelled like it, more than likely, you did have it. I'm just saying. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying. Yeah. Whoa, where did I lose my spot here? Hang on. Okay. Yeah. I think the creature, which I now believe is Bigfoot, was attracted to the smell. Yeah, that was it. But I have to tell you that not only was I scared at the sight of the giant hairy man, but I was also sickened by the pungent and overwhelming odor that the beast was emitting. Eventually, the Bigfoot seemed to get bored and disappeared into the darkness. I remember trembling in my sleeping bag and not being able to sleep the rest of the night. I didn't tell my father about it until he woke up the next morning because I was afraid if I tried to wake him up during the night, then the creature might see us awake or even hear us. And I was not willing I was not willing to find out how it would react when it did. When I told my dad about it, he just told me it was probably a large bear walking around on its hind legs, because, that's what they all do. Maybe at your mom's house. Oh, I'm just kidding. And not be, I didn't tell my father about it until he woke up the next morning because I was afraid. Yep. It is probably large bear walking around. Yeah, but when I described to him the creature was extremely human-like and walked like a person would, he chalked it up to me just either hallucinating from fear or that I was not aware that I was dreaming. To this day, I know exactly what I saw. It was about 9 feet tall, with extremely long and matted brown hair all over its body, including the face, which to me seemed to look very human-like in a primitive sort of way. I still remember the horrible stench that it made, that it made me almost want to vomit. That was probably the longest and most terrifying night of my life, but afterwards, I've come to honor the experience because I would come to realize that the creature was undoubtedly a Bigfoot, and I was one of the few people, who got the chance to see it extremely close up. That would be pretty cool, man. So, to all you skeptics out there, I understand your incredulity, but man, believe me, I've experienced firsthand, and there is no doubt that these creatures exist. I'm not sure about how abundant they are, but they truly do really exist. And they are not only scary looking and smelly, but they are a fascinating sight to see. And even though I only remember hearing the Bigfoot really grunt and growl a bit, I feel that they are more human-like than ape-like due to the appearance of the face. That was actually the scariest part, seeing that not only was there a strange giant creature creeping around our campsite, but it was a very human-like, albeit extremely hairy creature. And when I say hairy, I really mean it. I've never seen so much hair on the body of any creature. That's my story, and you can believe it or not believe it, but I'd advise you to believe it because they are out there. And it's not just a myth. I wish the skeptics could have been there with me that night. Oh man, unfortunately, or maybe I should say that fortunately, I never encountered one ever since then, that camping trip 33 years ago. But the image still stays clear in my head to this day. In fact, there have been many nights since then where I have dreams where I am reliving the experience. My words here can never do justice to what I saw that night as a young kid. I can never describe to you just how otherworldly and surreal the whole situation felt. But it was real, and I know I wasn't dreaming because I could not get to sleep the whole night. In fact, I was very wide awake, even though I pretended to sleep while every now and then I'd opening my eyes slightly to catch glimpses of the Bigfoot. To this day, I am greatly affected by the experience because it changed my whole perception of the world. After that, I would never doubt the possibility of anything existing. That's what I always say right there. Yeah, I definitely would never doubt the possibility of anything existing. This guy sounds totally legit. Not even things like vampires, aliens, or the chupacabra. I learned from that night to always keep an open mind when hearing about the seemingly impossible, because I myself encountered a creature long thought and still thought to be purely a myth by most people. Thank you to the asker for reading this, because it is a very important one. So many people have shared experience similar to mine and can never talk about it due to the fear of being ridiculed and labeled as a crazy person. Joey, to no avail, I want to say thank you for reading my story on here. I hope that you do, and if you do, I want to say thank you. Writing our stories on here gives us an outlet to finally speak about how intense experiences that we've had to keep in for so long. So thanks again, and to all the other people who have encountered Bigfoot like I have. Stay strong and know that even though most people will never believe what you've been through, Joey to NoAvaiL Shaddy will always believe you, and thank you for having a place for us to read our stories. These are loads of people like me out there that know you are telling the truth. Well, you're very welcome, man. Thank you for writing. I will always read your guys' stories. And you will. I will always give you an outlet. That means the world to me that you would say that. So if anybody at all has any stories, oh, hang on real fast. Yeah. So if any of you guys have any stories, please send them. Sorry, I got something that was going on. But yes, E. Dane, I thank you so much for writing in, man. I appreciate it. I love it when people do, and thanks for the shout out. I will always give you guys a place to read your stories. And if anybody wants to ever read your own story, tell your own story, you can call in and you can tell it. I would love for anybody to do that. Very, very, very much. Now let's see. This one from Kurt Brazier. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Have you ever seen one or evidence of one? In 1974, I went deer hunting with two old high school friends in the Sierra Mountains of Northern California. The exact location is not available to the public. I was separated from my friends as I slowly walked a game trail. I stopped next to the large manzanita bush, which was waist high. I listened to the forest for the telltale sound of a deer walking quietly through the rainforest in the leaves of autumn. After several minutes, from under the bush came a frightening scream, which sounded like a cross between a monkey shriek and a little giant scream, and then the creature jumped from under the bush and ran away from me. It was about 4 feet tall and covered in thick, shiny straw blonde hair, perhaps 2 to 2.5 inches long, except on the head where it was a bit longer. She was very stocky and very muscular. I stood there watching her run down the game trail away from me for 3 or 4 minutes, and I was amazed at how muscular she was. The trail quickly dropped, and soon she was out of my sight. It didn't last long, but I will never forget this encounter. Well, thank you, Kurt Razor. I love everybody's stories. Yeah, thank you so much for writing in. Let's see, what do I got on now? All right. William Harold Hinkson, 2. All right. First, I'd like to say, Joey, to NoAvaiL Shaddy, thank you for having us on here to read our stories. It means the world to us, and I hope that I hope you do read this one. For this one's a very, very. I've got a couple crazy stories. Well, you're very welcome, William. And I am reading your story. So here we go. What's your cryptic encounter? Stuff like Bigfoot, Elkuchukapachakanja. All right. I have more than a few of them, mostly UFOs. However, most of them are during times that really bled. Reality bled. I'm sorry. Reality was a gray area for me. If I can't confirm the experience with more than stable people, it never really happens. Even if it happened, it didn't really happen. I got this skill from reality breaks and blackouts before my unhinged days as a child. My most interesting one was feeling something under a chest scar. I remember it from a hallucination. I cut it open and pulled out a silver pill that had a bunch of tiny fibers, pulling a bit of gore out of me with needle nose pliers. Wow. I flushed it down the toilet, assuming it was a reality break. I felt strange for a couple weeks while the scar rehealed. Never trust the abyss. Huh. That's an interesting one. Well, thank you, William. Man, you are always feel free to write in. I love all stories. Thank you. And thank you for the shout out. And it means the world. All right. Next one from Danielle Hale. She says, thanks for having me on the show, Joey. Here's my story. I really don't know what it was, but on a 2-week camping trip with my family and one of my dad's friends, night after night, we kept hearing something pacing the campsite at a safe distance. Night 3, my dad's friend was hanging out a little past the glow of the campfire. Something white, kind of furry, blurry, large, about 8 foot, stepped out of the embankment towards him. Startled, he stepped backwards, yelling at it, and it ran off. We could hear it breaking a few medium-sized trees as it ran away. Night 7, my dad heard it again, and he took a makeshift spear, caught it on fire, and tried to follow it for almost a mile. He didn't see anything, but the trees swing back and forth. A couple days after that, we had enough and found another place to camp. And, oh, yeah, sorry. Another place, we found another place to camp out for the rest of our vacation. There was definitely something there. We just couldn't get it any film on it. Well, Danielle, thank you for writing in again. I love your stories. I appreciate it. Hey, 4Q, what's up, man? How you been doing, man? I always love seeing you on pop up on here, man. GP Man 45, what's going on, man? What's up, GP Man? Your first time, man. Thank you a million. Welcome to the show. Everybody, say what's up to GP Man 45. I always love seeing people, newcomers come on here, man. If you have any stories at all, man, you can call in and tell them yourself, or you can email me at it's the number 2 NA. It's 2 NoAvaiL is what my but it's 2 NA. Oh my God, did I forget what it? Mystery Podcast. Yeah. To NoAvaiL Mystery Podcast, but it's like the number 2 and then NA Mystery Podcast at gmail.com. And I'll read your stories. Or, like I said, you can call in and tell them yourself. Or, man, you can just listen and kick it with us and hang out. I appreciate you joining us, man. A million. Also, check out my on my website. You can check out my website. I think it's joelshaddy77.podbean.com. It's got different links on there to my YouTube channel, my and then I think my Patreon. If you would like to become a patron, there's some cool stuff coming up. But I mean, anybody just coming on to hang out, I love that the most, man. Thank you a million for coming on. Everybody, say what's up and give him a very, very good welcome. Thanks, GP Man. I like that name, GP Man 45. All right, man. So next story, and 4Q, is always good to see you. To see you as well, brother. Well, oh wait, okay. Lincoln wants to say hi. Hang on, Lincoln, where'd you go?
Hey, what's up, guys? What is up, man? Thank you for you guys listening to my daddies. Man, he's a little bit on the, you know what I mean? But, man, that's why I'm here. I'm the only dog in the world that can handle my father. He's kind of a dipshit, guys.
Okay, Lincoln, thank you. I told you don't cuss on the show. What if kids are listening? God. And I know. Everybody, that's my dog and not Lincoln. He's kind of the producer of the show. You know. All right, Lincoln, stop. All right. Okay, you go get that. All right, man. Sorry about that, guys. Next story comes from where are we at? Darian Relaford. All right. I want to say, Joey to NoAvaiL Shady, thank you for having my story on your show. Here it is. Well, it would be naive to think that Bigfoot is impossible, but I think most sightings are mistaken identity of hoaxes. However, I do have an unexplained story from my childhood that I'm still unsure to this day. Until I was 14, I lived in an apartment complex that was bordered by a small forest. One day, when I was around 5-ish years old, my cousin and I were wandering around the woods when something caught our attention. We saw a giant figure, probably like 8 feet tall, with its back to us. Usually you never really ran into other people in the woods. And if you did say they were kids, too, never adults, so we were very confused as I am reading this. Sorry. What was more confusing is it looked like the stereotypical Bigfoot, but it had a dirty white fur instead of brown. Huh. Now, man, I'm telling you, man, albino stuff is out there too. I'm just saying. All right. Oh, man, right at your mom's house. I'm just kidding. All right, moving on. Here we go. All right. Where was I? All right. My cousin and I sat there frozen, staring at it, until it looked at us. To this day, I've never felt such a deep fear. I was so afraid, it was as if my soul left my body. We took a running immediately. We took off, I think is what he meant to say. We took off running immediately, but my cousin was 5 years older than me and was leaving me behind. I started crying and panicking because I knew whatever it was going to get me. Man, right? You never want to leave no man behind, man. That's a big no-no. Yeah, never leave your friends, especially your little brothers, behind. All right. Now, thankfully, my cousin stopped and came back for me. He made me get on his back, and we ran and ran and ran until we got home. Eventually, we convinced ourselves that we must have just been seeing things. And over time, we started going in the woods again. But several years later, something crazy happened when I was 11 years old at this time. Okay, well, one morning, I was at the bus stop. Oh, sorry, gotta get my cigarette fast. One morning, I was at the bus stop, and this girl that lived down the hill was telling another kid about her neighbor's dog being killed in the woods. And Lincoln, if Bigfoot killed you, I would kill him.
Man, I would fuck Bigfoot up, Dad. Fuck that shit.
Don't cuss on here, Lincoln. I don't know how many times I got to tell you, man. And God, and I'm trying to read the story, man. Sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. All right, moving on. One morning, I was at the bus stop, and this girl that lived in the hill, told her about dogs being killed in the woods. Sorry, Lincoln interrupted me. She insisted that her and her two neighbors were in the woods, and Bigfoot killed their dog right in front of them. I thought, what a funny made-up story. What an idiot would believe that. But then she described her Bigfoot, and it sounded and smelled exactly like the one my cousin and I had seen. I usually don't believe in that kind of stuff. But what were the chances that two different groups of people see the same creature over a year apart in the same woods? It definitely made me question my perception of reality and made me wonder if I really did encounter a Sasquatch that day. My brain must have been turned off when I wrote this answer because my timeline was way, way off, so I deleted a few sentences and added my approximate ages. For some reason, I said my encounter was around middle school, but I started packing on pounds around second grade, and then by third grade, there's no way my scrawny big cousin would have carried me effectively. So I was younger than 7 when the encounter occurred, and when my neighbor was telling me about her encounter at the school's bus stop, I believe I was in middle school, and our middle school was had only contained 5th and 6th grade, so I would have been 10 or 11 or so. Joey, I apologize about that, but I'm glad I could fix it. Thanks again for having me on your show. Well, thank you. And please, anytime, man, email me any stories that you have. Again, that's 2NA Mystery Podcast at gmail.com. All right. Now, one from Joey Anderson. Let's see. All right. Well, although I know the answers that ramble on and on get the most engagement on here, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Bigfoot Sasquatch. Not even kidding. I was 1979 on a weekend, I must admit, it was 1979, on a weekend camping trip with my family. I was 8 years old. It was a fairly chilly night, and I had started getting a severe cold. My mom decided it would be best for me to sleep in the back of the station wagon instead of the tent with her and my stepdad and my little brother. My uncle and aunt were asleep in another tent next to theirs. If you are old enough to remember them, it was like the old station wagon in those old Chevy Chase movies with the fake wood paneling stripe down the side. Boy, I do remember those, man. God, those were fun. Yeah, I know. I have to get one too. So, my mom put me in the back of the station wagon and wrapped me up snugly in a few blankets. I didn't like being alone in the car, but they left the fire going and the moonlight shone into the car pretty strongly. I wasn't asleep, but I was curled up with my eyes closed. I noticed it suddenly got pitch black. Before that, it seemed that somehow I could tell there was moonlight even through my eyelids. I opened my eyes and saw him through the window I was facing. I literally could have touched him except I was inside the car. He was less than 3 feet from me. At first, all I saw were legs and a very gross butt. Well, I mean, you know. His butt was at the top of the car window. Then he turned more to the side, and I saw his genitalia. Very much human, but hung like a bull. I call him a he because that part was very obvious. His hair was very dirty and slightly wet, maybe very sweaty. Didn't look at it all like fur, really. It was a reddish-brown color with lots of gray. Skin that I could see on his butt and the genitalia was sort of complexion of a Native American, but very hairy. The hair was long in areas like the head and shoulders and arms and even hands, and mid-length in others. Honestly, I was terrified and grossed out, but still wasn't sure what I was seeing. That is kind of ironically funny. But as he took a couple of steps away from the car and toward the tent, I was horrified and trying not to even breathe. What I saw was the largest man-like creature ever moving towards the fire and the tents where my family was. I was afraid that they were going to die. I could see him completely at this point, huge. I was only 8, so I can't say how tall, but I'm 45 now, and based on what I know about the height of my family and how they looked to me when standing about where he was near the fire, and based on the height of those station wagons, he was probably at least 9 feet tall. Sorry, I'm trying to read this correctly. He was very muscular, extremely thick, but lean like an athlete. He seemed to not have much of a neck, if any at all, based on the front of his head and profile view, but he did have long hair well past his very wide shoulders. He stood there looking at either the campfire or the tents or both for what seemed like an eternity, but was probably only a few seconds. He took a couple steps and was gone. I have told very few people about this for fear of it being labeled as a tale. I know what I saw is what happened called Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I'm certain of it. Have you ever seen one? I'd love to hear about it, if only to make me feel a little more sane. Thank you for having my story on your show. It means the world. Well, man, Joey, you're very welcome. And there. I've got a million stories, so you are definitely not the only one. So I hope you're listening, because on this channel, man, you're always safe. Because there's not anything that I don't believe in. I think that anything is possible myself. That is just me. All right, so I've got to take a short break, but I'm going to leave you with a pre-recorded story. I'll be right back. Everybody, don't go anywhere, okay? Here, I'm going to leave this so you guys can listen to this.
Entering, and the beings entering the home. As time progressed, though, Betty would attempt to have her story investigated and researched. In 1974, she reached out to the National Enquirer.
Wait a minute. Caps, what is up? All right, fuck the break. Caps, holy shit. What's up, brother? I have not seen Caps in a minute. Hey, man, how you been doing? How's everything been going, man? It is awesome to run into you. Fuck the break. How you been doing, man? I've been doing all right. I've been doing okay. I started this podcast. I got to get my I owe Podbean money, so I got to get my astronomy one going. Man, thank you. I have a lot of fun doing this. I have a lot of fun doing it. Man, Lincoln finally he just started talking one day. Lincoln, say what's up, man.
Hey, man, Caps, what's up, brother? I got on here with my dad. He's such a fucking moron. I mean, I swear to God, he's so stupid. And I don't know, man. I thought I saw Bigfoot the other day. It was just my dad. He's so fucking stupid.
Lincoln, how many times have I told you not to cuss on here? God damn it. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, he's a dipshit. Yeah, he is. But man, Caps, it's awesome to run into you, man. Okay, now I'll take this break for a second. But I got something that you guys... Lincoln's doing really good. He's a little shithead, you know. But I will be right back. Don't go anywhere, guys. I'm gonna play this for a minute, and I'll be right back. Do not go anywhere.
Who were looking for alien abduction stories. However, even the tabloid newspaper thought her story was too strange. Then, in 1977, the case would be examined by a full team of specialists. This included a solar physicist, an electronics engineer, an aerospace engineer, a telecommunications specialist, a UFO investigator, hypnotist, and psychiatrist. After 12 months, Betty had passed 2 lie detectors and endured 14 long, regressive hypnotic sessions. The results of this investigation revealed that Betty, along with her daughter, were able to give detailed descriptions of their encounter and what they experienced. Betty's daughter says she was abducted as well. The team would then conclude the claims probably were legitimate. Later, Betty would go on to recall previous encounters and abductions, as well as activity going into the 1990s. Her claims are still being investigated today, with at least half a dozen books written on the subject. Despite the attention, there doesn't appear to be a consensus view on whether these events were blown out of proportion or even actually happened. Some people believe that her Christian values might have influenced her claims around meeting a divine being. Other skeptics point to details of the story changing over the years. For example, in early drawings, the eyes of the beings were similar to human eyes. However, later sketches would show the eyes to be large and all black. One other thing that skeptics tend to point out is that the majority of her story was only made available after hypnotic regression. Leading questions in these sessions can create false memories. Non-believers also point out that she came forward in 1977, the same year the popular movie The Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out. Still, we should remember she did try and seek help in the years before. Believers of this case will point out that a team of specialists did investigate the case, and they all believed she was telling the truth. It also doesn't appear major details of the story changed over the years. Betty's entire family would back her story, except her husband, who was in the hospital at the time. This case is certainly a fascinating one, and will continue to be studied by researchers and ufologists for the foreseeable future.
Yo, you heard about this? There's a free $5,800 spending card being handed out to migrants. So just for...
On the evening of Thursday, October 4th, 2001, in Gondia, Australia, 3 Australians would experience a terrifying event that would change their lives forever. Keith Rylance, then age 40, his wife Amy, then age 22, and their business partner, Petra Heller, age 39 at the time, had been working on the property to develop their new business, a winery. During the time, they had brought their recreational vehicle and were living out of it. On the night of the 4th, around 9:30 p.m., Keith decided to go to sleep, while Amy decided to watch TV in the living space. Petra, too, decided to head to sleep, leaving her door slightly open. Around 11:15 p.m., Petra woke up, and looking through her door to the lounge space, she saw a rectangular beam coming in the open window. Inside the beam, Petra says she saw Amy head first and sleeping, being slowly carried out the window. Oddly, other items that were sitting on the coffee table next to her were being carried out as well. Petra, before passing out due to sheer terror, would peek through the window and see a UFO hovering slightly above the ground. As Petra regained consciousness, she woke up screaming, which immediately woke up Keith. Petra would later state she didn't believe she was out for that long. As Keith walked into the lounge room, he would meet an extremely upset Petra, who was crying and screaming incoherently. Keith would soon see the window screen was torn on the window that was open. As Petra continued sobbing, she finally was able to tell Keith what happened, but Keith refused to believe it and ran outside, searching for Amy. Frustrated and terrified, he decided to call the police. Keith called the police and reported that his wife had been abducted. After an hour and a half, Senior Constable Robert Maranga from the Tiaro Police and another officer arrived. Both Keith and Petra told the officers that Amy had been abducted by a spaceship, but the officers didn't believe them and suspected foul play. Soon, Sergeant John Bojnak was called in, and the 3 began investigating the property. Soon they noticed a bush to the left of the window showed that it had been affected by something, possibly heat. On the other side of the window, a similar type of bush didn't display the same signs. Samples were taken of the bush, and the screen was examined too. While police were investigating, the telephone rang. A woman was calling from the town of Mackay, Australia, which was around 800 kilometers north of where they resided. The woman told Keith that she had encountered a woman who was dehydrated and distressed and took her to Mackay Hospital. The woman let Keith know that the woman, later identified as Amy Rylance, was okay and was being examined by a doctor. The Mackay police would then venture to the hospital to get a sworn statement from Amy. What Amy recalled next would truly be jaw-dropping. Amy recalled the last thing she remembered was lying on the couch in the recreational vehicle. Then, the next thing she remembered was lying on a bench in a strange rectangular room. She had no memory of floating through the window, as Petra described. In the room, she recalls the walls were illuminating as well as the ceiling. She stated she said hello, to which she heard a voice, which she described as male, asking her to remain calm and assuring her she would be okay. Then, the wall opened and something walked into the rectangular room. The alien was 6 feet tall, slender, and covered from head to foot in a full bodysuit. There was a black mask covering its face with holes for the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. The being told Amy they were returning to a place not far from where she was abducted. The being said they couldn't return her to her property because the lights were wrong and it might not be safe. Amy would then fall asleep on the bench. The next thing she remembered was waking up, disoriented on the ground, looking up at the trees. She got up and began walking through the forest, smelling the ocean. Finally, after walking for some time, she ended up hitting a highway and walked toward a light coming from a gas station. At the station, she went inside and the staff immediately started helping her as they saw she was in bad shape. They offered her water and began asking questions regarding who she was and what happened. Amy initially wasn't able to answer those questions and didn't know where she was. They asked her if she was drinking earlier or doing drugs, and Amy said no. She was tired, sore, and lethargic, and asked a woman to take her to the hospital. The woman and her friend took Amy to the hospital, and there, Amy would speak with 2 police officers, and also eventually, she spoke with her husband Keith on the phone. After the hospital, she went to the McKay police station, where she gave her statement. In her statement, Amy would indicate nothing like this had ever happened to her, but she did note an experience she had when she was younger. When she was in school, she recalls seeing a large UFO surrounded by smaller objects. The police put Amy in a motel until her husband would arrive. As Petra and Keith arrived later during the day, they talked extensively about what had happened. They took detailed notes and photographed a triangular mark on Amy's right inner thigh. Fascinatingly, Amy's hair had started to show her former color, as well as her body hair was longer than one would expect for just a few hours. Many believe that this indicates that a decent amount of time had passed for Amy. After compiling the notes on October 5th, the day after Amy was taken, Keith Rylance contacted the Australian UFO Research Network office. The case immediately piqued the interest of Diane Harrison, who took to the call. She would reach out to Bill Chalker, and both would investigate the case. On October 9th, Diane and Bill then traveled to Gundaya, arriving at the Whispering Winds winery property just after 10 p.m. After beginning their investigation, Diane and Bill would find several things that seemingly cast doubt on the trio's story. First, Keith and Amy owned a dog, one that could have possibly caused the screen damage. Second, the damage to the plants seems to have a scientific explanation. This could be due to prosaic causes, such as heat stress. They noted a plant at the front of the house had similar damage. After some research, it was discovered that the plant species often had random damage. After Diana and Bill investigated the property, they were going to head up to McKay to meet with the 3. However, as they were supposed to meet, the motel indicated that the 3 had already left and looked to be bouncing around to different hotels. While Keith would later call and apologize, he would state that the men in black were searching for them. Keith stated that they would go into hiding until further notice. This little-known UFO case has become quite controversial since it occurred. Some believed it happened, while others questioned it. Supporters note that it has multiple police reports documenting it. It has multiple witnesses. It's also tough to explain how Amy traveled 800 kilometers in 90 minutes. Other support includes the photographs and her body hair that have grown. As we mentioned, the plants in the screen could have been explained. It is still possible, though, something else caused this. The witnesses are all deemed credible, and we've seen cases where abductees are dropped off far from where they were abducted, most notably the Travis Walton case. One other piece of evidence is that the three were seemingly terrified when it occurred and disappeared due to fear. If they were lying and trying to become famous, we would expect the opposite. Still, skeptics exist and question this case since no hard evidence seems to exist. Some question whether she really traveled the distance in less than 3 hours. In other words, did Keith or someone else drive her up there earlier in the day or possibly the day before? While this case was investigated early on, it's important to note a thorough investigation wasn't conducted as the three were scared and often moving around. Perhaps if this was looked at with more detail and earlier, more evidence would have been found regarding this strange incident. With more detail and earlier, more evidence would have been found regarding this strange incident.
Well, here we go. All right, that was a dumb small break that I had to take. Man, how is everybody doing? Friends, foes, and woes. What is going on, man? It's I guess it's a nice day. It's like one of those, well, it's sunny, but you never know what's going to happen, man. Not in Oklahoma. And then you have Lincoln over here that, he just, we never really know what he's doing. He's always chasing his balls. I don't think we're talking about, we're not, we'll just leave that one open. All right, man. For minds to get fun. It's just, man, how is England? It's hot. Yeah, God, I want to go. I would kill to go. Come to England and get away from the stupid states of America. I just, it's a, yeah. This place reminds me of a toilet bowl. It's just full of shit. Lincoln, what do you you can't go out there. You can't. And why would you wait for me to do that? You knew I was on break. You did. And now oh my Lord, and my dogs. You have hurricanes. No, I didn't hear about the TikTok news. And the hurricanes? Man, no, I did not hear about this. Hurricanes in England? Is that like some apocalyptic end of the world shit? California had a hurricane. This was like a year ago or something. Oh, in the U.S.? Oh, okay. I never really watch. Now, there was a hurricane in California like a year ago maybe, and that's some pretty apocalyptic shit because those don't happen in the Pacific. Those are a Atlantic Ocean type of story thing, but I guess anything's possible. You know what I'm saying? Man, I got kicked off. Well, shit, Spotify because I played a song, and man, they don't like that shit, and I don't know, where that came from. That was just a shot out of the dark from nowhere, man. I think. Shit. I don't know where that came from. Well, I'm just gonna say I've increased my dumbality. I don't think there's any much hope for that in my brains. But hey, I guess it just keeps everything more interesting. All right, guys. So here's a story from Anthony Madden, John Madden, football guy. Am I wrong? Am I right? I forget, man. I forget that not everybody is as perfect as I am. So it's just one of those things that it sucks to forget that. But sometimes I'm quickly reminded that I'm on the dummy trail. But, again, I forget not everybody's as smart as I am. So it's one of those, continuing retard factors of myself. But who was going to say and who was going to go? All right. Where did my other story go? All right. Here we go. This one from Julie Fadden. Julie Fadden. And I had asked, what's the strangest, otherworldly, or paranormal sightings you've ever had while hiking through the woods or hitchhiking on the road? Like Bigfoot, UFOs, and humanoids. Well, Joey, thank you for having my story on the air. I hope this one is a good one for you and your listeners. Well, thank you so much for writing in. All right, pre-2007, I was in the forest hunting for mushrooms. Okay. What kind of mushrooms were those? Hey, hi, man, because, I'm just saying. I heard an unearthly sound. It wasn't a bear, cougar, bobcat, eagle, nothing like that. Nothing I had ever heard. Perhaps similar to a howler monkey, but a deeper vocalized, something that sent chills down my spine. This was before I had ill health and was a part-time student at the university. It was a normal day, but when that howl went off, I made back to my vehicle. I didn't want to spend the day with my Mr. or Miss Bigfoot. Oh, and this was the coastal range somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Oh, well, as magical as that is. Well, thank you for writing that in. Because I'm pretty freaked out. Yeah. Man, again, everybody, I love it when you write in. So, man, please write in to, you can email me at the number 2, NoAvaiL Mystery Podcast at gmail.com. 2, N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, Mystery Podcast at gmail.com. All right. This one from Kim Walker. All right, let's see. Originally answered, I was sitting on my front porch talking to my best friend. We were lost in conversation, and we both heard someone running through my house. Oh, shit. We talked about whether that back door was locked because we were sitting right beside the front door, and there were no side doors. We talked about whether it could have just been the floor shifting that made it sound like someone ran through the house. We went inside and no one was inside the house. Later on, we were back on the front porch talking, and there was this thick black fog shadow thing that we both saw. It was like a large weird shaped ball of just jet black color, like a shadow that light could not pass through. It stayed for a few minutes at the roof part of the porch and then disappeared. Neither of us know if it were simply tired if we were both tired and then just both imagined it, or if it actually did happen, but we both saw it, could not see the roof of the porch or around the shadow. It never happened again. Well, all right. I mean, I gotta say that you might want to, I don't know, wait for it to happen, move before it does. I'm just saying. Or not, Just, or that. Thank you, Lincoln, for hitting that. All right. This story from Barbara. While out hiking, this is always fun. These stories are always being getting me. I am a long-distance backpacker hiker. This means I like extremely long trails that require 5-6 months, of living on the trail. Damn, that's some dedication. These trails are also popular, and I've never encountered a crypto creature or paranormal activity on one of these trails. That doesn't mean that I haven't encountered something. It just means that I have not encountered something unusual on one of the more common public trails. I did, in fact, encounter something I could not explain hiking closer to my home. Southern Cascade Range. Oh, Trinity Alps. So, in Washington? Or, the West Coast. Let me explain. To maintain minimum hiking shape, I train by hiking near my rural home that I can reach without ever getting in a car. I have access to a private trail, we maintain it, that follows a mountain creek for over 4 miles each way. The trail crosses Bureau of Land Management property and Forest Service property. The public has no access to this area. There are no homes or roads that cross this area, and it is effectively uninhabited by people. This area has elk, deer, bears, mountain lions, coyotes, foxes, etc. What I heard and saw was none of the above. I have never heard or seen it again. I had a clear view of it. It was across the creek, and it took off running uphill. It was very tall, covered in black, short hair, and ran up a hill on 2 feet. I don't know what I saw and heard, but I know it wasn't a bear, deer, or an elk. Well, from the undescriptive description of it, I gotta say, maybe it was, I don't know. Well, thank you for writing in all the same. And like I said, I always appreciate all stories. All right, this one coming in from a Kimberly McGeorge. Okay. Here we go. So, there are some people out there doing some real innovative research. Bigfoot came to me, so it's not my obsession, but a constant hobby relationship. I have had trees and bushes planted for privacy that couldn't have gotten there many other ways. I have had stones and pine cones laid at my door. I have also had destruction. They love to mess with concrete and started tearing up my porch when I moved into a 2-year-old house until I put a camera on them. Nice or mean, they tend not to like cameras. See, I haven't had huge conversations, but I have a video or picture of a mother holding her baby up for me to see, which made me cry. So there are some good ones, just like there are some good people. I have found it to be at least half and half. They are very territorial and hate when you clear and mess with land, which I did in my home building site. The retaliated by taking out trees I wanted there for privacy, so I put up a camera and made a deal. You stay if you stop knocking out trees. Laugh out loud. I can teach anyone how to see the dimensions if they want to see. Many people have paranormal experiences, but just refuse to believe, and that's their privilege and choice. I never argue about mine. They are what they are. I'm not trying to convince anyone who doesn't want to know or learn. Okay. Well, I want to write to you about something. Yeah, I want to know about some of how to see these dimensions that you speak of. All right. Well, that's I'm gonna have to write her. That's a bit. I have a million questions. Yes, I do. All right. Moving on. Actually, man, I'm running out of time. I really am. I hate that too, man, because I love doing these shows. I love them. Everybody that hit like, I thank you so much. You are very much appreciated. Man, and Caps, it's awesome to run into you. Everybody, I'm sure you guys all know Caps. Great dude. He used to go on my show, my astronomy podcast show. God, it was always fun. Great peeps. I'm glad you're doing well, man. Caps, very, very good dude. And all of you Podbeaners are awesome, man. I love the Podbean family, man. Great people. All right, man. This one coming in from Jim Porter. All right, Jim Porter, what you got to say? Why hasn't anyone caught a Yeti or Bigfoot? Yes? Well, bear with me. You'll see why. Back in the 90s, I used to have a business with a friend where we would get investors. Then he and I would go out and purchase the investors or bankrupt businesses. Once we purchased the inventory of a man... Wait, I'm sorry. I'm totally trying to read these right. Once we purchased the inventory of a man who had 2 jewelry stores, one downtown, the other located a few miles from the city center. In the downtown store, as part of the inventory, was included a huge bank-style safe door. The door was about 7.5 feet tall and weighed a little over 1,000 pounds. We had to figure a way to get that door out of the store and into storage. But then we had another idea. We ran an ad in our local newspaper stating our asking price, but with the provision that the buyer had to make his or own arrangements for removal of the door from the premises. All right. All the way down, came back to your mom's house. I'm kidding. Nobody was at their mom's house. All right. Within a few days, we got a call from a man who lived in one of our surrounding towns, who arranged to the price and removal of the door. We agreed on a time that he would show up to take possession of his door. On the next Saturday morning, about 11 a.m., we met the man at the downtown store. He showed up with a flatbed trailer and forklift, rated to lift 4,000 pounds. Now here was the problem. The door and safe, we didn't buy the safe, was in the back room of the store. So the man had to figure out a way to get a door out of the back room without damaging the building walls. Okay. I won't take the time to explain his method, but he was able to do so. Lay the door flat, pick it up, get it through the the store's front door, and finally, after picking it up and laying it down several times using chains, get the 1,000-pound safe door onto the flatbed truck, and finally secure it to the bed so the door wouldn't fall off as he drove it home, while towing the forklift as well. All in all, it took about 4 hours for all that to take place. Finally, about 3 in the afternoon, we shook hands with him, and he drove away with the safe door. Got it? All right. When you asked your question about has anyone caught a Yeti or Bigfoot, I thought of that safe. Because if you think about it, it was the height and weight of the estimated weight and height of a Bigfoot. Wow, what? So, let's take that door in place and place it out against a couple of trees 3 to 5 miles out in the woods. The woods has many trees, hills, gullies, a creek or two, rises, no real roads or trails, and all the other physical features that a typical woods or forest would have or would not have. Now, let's simply, for illustrative purposes, say we have found that door and figure out how to capture it. Or again, for illustrative purposes, kill it. Whether captured or killed, the door is lying on the floor of the woods. Now, here's the question. How do we get it out of there? Man, I'm wondering where this story's going to wrap to. Okay. Suppose there are 6 to 8 guys in the group that has killed or captured the safe door. Easy. I hear someone say, just drive a pickup truck into the trees with its creeks and hills and trees and no real roads, and flop it onto the truck bed. Again, no real roads, no real way to get the truck into the forest or woods, and only 6 or 8 guys to pick up the dead weight, lift it, and put it onto the truck bed. How do we do that? That's the same virtual problem that someone or some guys who have captured or killed a Bigfoot would have. Okay. Wait. Someone says, didn't Trapper, Jeff, Huckleberry, Buck, and Wild Bill and Willie catch some guys doing exactly that? The other team do that? What? Well, yes, it happened, and no, it didn't happen. The Mountain Monsters show was good fun, but it was ridiculous. It was a fictional adventure series that glommed onto the Bigfoot hunting, or finding, or never finding, excitement in the time. So the things that happened were fictional, so in that sense, it happened. But no, it didn't really happen. What in the fuck is this? Is anybody get Sorry, I know that I tell Lincoln not to cuss, but what? Where are we going with this? Okay. I'm still going. Okay. I mean, is anyone else getting that? Okay. So I said all of this to say this. Capturing a Bigfoot or a Yeti would be a difficult process, especially if it's still alive and has decided it doesn't want to come with you. Now, there are those who say that Bigfoots have been captured by U.S. and Canadian military forces, taking the creature down, then flying them out in huge cargo nets slung under helicopters. Okay. But let's face it, most of us don't have a helicopter, large cargo nets, or a group of guys who would be willing to go out, load a Bigfoot onto a pickup truck. Capturing a Bigfoot and getting it to civilization is going to be a terrible problem for the first people to do it. As difficult as getting a half-ton safe door out of the woods and back home. So the size of a Bigfoot is probably one reason we don't have one, either in a laboratory or a cage somewhere. Well, okay. Well, all right, guys. I think that about wraps it up. I am running out of time. I got one more shorty one from G.N. Spellman. Okay. When I was hiking an Appalachian Trail on a misty, rainy day, I came to a summit of a distinctive rock formation called Charlie's Bunyan. The sun came out as I looked down into this steep ravine below. I saw a rainbow in a complete circle. It was glorious. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure I can end that on that note. Thanks for the story, but, okay. All right, well, There's one more. No, because I don't think that's going to be very. Okay. All right. Here we go. This is from Al Filorito. I was hunting in December in Pennsylvania along a mountainside that overlooked a stunning valley. On alert for deer, I noticed something hanging from the trees. Upon investigation, it was the remains of a small single-engine airplane that crashed in thick fog into the side of a mountain about 20 years earlier. The bodies were recovered, but many parts of the plane were left on the side of the mountain. Okay. So, is that... Okay, that was your... I guess that would be something weird to run into. Well, have you ever had a friendly encounter with a Bigfoot? Well, Gene Martin says, my cat Sam has some pretty large paws. He's still growing. I suspect he's going to be a mega kitty. That's as close as I've come to a Bigfoot. My friend Julie, who lives in Michigan, says all the Bigfoot sightings up there happen close to bars. I went to look up the Loyalhanna River once and discovered that there was a Bigfoot sighting near there. I go up that way almost every year for the Highland game, but I've never seen anything. You'd think Bigfoot might want to try tossing the caber. Well, that's pretty good, man, I gotta say. Well, guys, I appreciate you a million for joining. Everybody, thank you for all the kind words, all the likes. You guys are all awesome. Join me tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat place. Thank you so much for the likes. Caps, you have a good one, brother. Everybody else, have a wonderful day and a NoAvaiL Mystery Podcast Day, everybody.